All right, and we're live. Welcome. Thank you all so much for stopping by. Today, we're going to talk about why you shouldn't invest in this specific products. And honestly, I'll just go out and say it. Scarlet and Violet. We may need to have a conversation on if it's worth it or if it's too risky. But before we jump into it, as always, make sure you leave a like, comment down below, subscribe. Really helps the YouTube channel out. If you want to check out Alex, links is down in the description below to check out his content, his channel, his breaks, everything he's got going on over there. And lastly, if we ever have any sort of spots left available in the wholesale program, make sure to ping me on our Discord. Links down in the description below for that. And I will get you set up once we have some more spots open. But Alex, are you ready to jump into it?
I am, dude.
All right, let's do it then. So as far as it goes, I feel like we need to have a conversation. Do you want to start with Scarlet and Violet, or do you want to start with what's going on in Sword and Shield?
Oh man, let's talk about Sword and Shield. It's fun, isn't it?
Yeah, it's funny how things kind of like happen so quickly in this market. Because like last week, we had so many people ask us the question like, "What would you rather? What do you bet on first happening? Lost Origin to 1,000, or Brilliant to 1,000, or pick a Sword and Shield box, or do you think that the first 4 sets are gonna go to like like they kept giving us these comparisons, first 4 sets of like Scarlet and Violet, which one's gonna happen first, and they kept giving us these like comparisons. And I feel like the big thing that we both kept kind of saying was like, well, when it comes to Scarlet and Violet right now, obviously for the first 4 generations, like yes, they're safer from reprints, but also there's some laggards that we just don't know how base is going to perform. We don't know how Obsidian's going to perform. Obviously, we love Paldea, but there was things to take in consideration. And with the newer sets, there was also a lot of risk saying to ourselves, like, okay, do we think reprints could then affect the pricing where it takes longer? And so it just all made sense to us that regardless of the price of Sword and Shield era product, it just felt safer because it's out of print. We know it's going to do well in the long term. And lo and behold, like, I think when we made that video, Ella was still sitting at 4, and now it's at $600, literally a week later. And that wasn't on purpose. Like, it just so happened that the timing of that kind of lined up perfectly. So I feel like that's a discussion we need to have, because you're just starting to see now more than ever. Like, I know Fusion people were talking about last week, but everything in terms of the Sword and Shield era, it feels like it's finally starting to really follow up aggressively as, Fusion kind of takes flight.
Yeah, I mean, 2 of the main things that happen in this hobby that people make like really bad decisions on is they get too wrapped up in like being too active and watching all the news on all the PokeTube channels. And, especially when things go stagnant, people will make videos like, look, you've been sitting on these for 6 months, a year, however long, and you haven't made any money. This is how bad of an investment it is. And then something can go up 50% in a matter of a week, and it makes up for the entire year's gains like that. And that's why it's like so dangerous to try to time markets, and you just have to be involved. You have to put money to work. You have to hold skin in the game, and you have to pay attention to the market, but like not, try to always be active and not always try to make moves based on what's happening and always think the grass is always greener. Because even right now, right, there's people that are like, Alex, should I sell some of my Scarlet Violet to get more Sword and Shield? It's like, no, because eventually there's gonna be a time when Sword and Shield goes flat and Scarlet Violet's on a run, and everyone's going to be jumping from Sword and Shield to Scarlet Violet. And it's just like this game of trying to go back and forth, trying to catch whatever run's going on. And, it's like that old saying in the stock market, like if you're out of the S&P index for like 15 days of the year, the top 15 days, you miss out on like 90% of the gains. Same thing goes for Pokemon. If you weren't in on Sword and Shield in this last couple of weeks, well, you're probably going to miss out on 90% of the gains that happened this year.
Yeah, you can't play this back and forth game 100%. I feel like you just have to also ask yourself the question, like we've said many a times, like, are you looking at this more long-term or short-term, right? Because if you're someone that's looking at it as a more long-term mindset, then obviously it makes more sense to like not look at Scarlet and Violet in the same kind of limelight where you're like, okay, Scarlet and Violet's got a chance of reprints. Maybe it's a little riskier because prices come down. Well, in long term, you don't really care about that because in the next 5-10 years, it could change. But if you're someone that's maybe trying to, look and play the potential reprint game, which is so speculative and there's so much that we just don't really know, then obviously Sword and Shield just feels kind of safer. But I mean, I've kind of talked about this for the most part anyway. Like, as I continue to grow my portfolio, I've just said to myself, let's just look at the previous generation that's out of print because I know it's not going to get reprinted. I don't have to play this game every single time. And like, I think the big thing I always told people too, as like space becomes more valuable, because as I have much more limited space, I'm like, hey, let me pick up some evolving. I can, buy these boxes that are worth significantly more. The price per square foot that I'm paying to hold on to this product is much cheaper. And you can easily now start to make that exact same argument with a lot of these Sword and Shield era boxes as they continue to climb, right? And like, I don't want to be the guy that says you technically still should invest, because long term, once again, it's not going to matter at the end of it all. And we had this conversation like several years ago when evolving was at 400, and we were like, oh, now's the stopping point. Should we start to like de-risk and take some profits off the table? And lo and behold, it's at like well over 1200. So it's just, when do you feel comfortable to like offload your position and pick up other ones versus just holding on long term? Because ultimately, the best time to sell is realistically when you feel the most comfortable, because it'll in theory continue to keep climbing over time since it is deflationary.
Yeah. And another thing
Keep
is
some,
like,
sell some.
yeah, another thing I always think about is like wealthy people are not concerned about like things that, like the emotional like people are. It's like, when's the last time you saw like Warren Buffett talk about like getting in at the right time on a play? Right? Like, he does his research, he invests in companies for the long term, and he's not like getting up the next day or next week like, oh my gosh, I could have bought that for $1.20 less a share. And I think that's what too many people do in this Pokemon hobby is they're like, I don't know if I should invest in this. It could get reprinted. I could have got it $20 cheaper. It's just like, if we're making long-term investment decisions based on like trying to play like the intraday or intra-week or intra-month trade, price swings of the market, I think you're doing this wrong. I really do. It's like, we were talking before this. I feel like, Eli feels like he still wants to go through a few more market cycles. I feel like I've been through enough market cycles at this point where it's like, it's almost just second nature. It's just like, I remember coming out of XY and Sun and Moon, people told me Sun and Moon's way more printed than XY. It's going to be different. There's going to be way more to go around. And then we got the Sword and Shield after COVID, and it was overprinted to the max. It's not going to perform like Sun and Moon and XY. This is not investable. It's kind of the time me and Eli really started to make content really frequently and gotten a lot of like online debates on other content creators' channels about the investability of modern product. And very few people believed in it back then. And obviously, we're seeing how that's working out. And now we're in Scarlet Violet, and the same exact, I hear the same stuff. It's the same stuff with a different name. It's, oh, this is way overprinted. Look at the pop reports. It's way more than Sword and Shield was. It's not all the same stuff. And then I know we're going to be sitting here in 3 years, and we're going to talk maybe 2 years, maybe a year and a half. And we're going to be talking about the same style moves that we're seeing in Evolving and Fusion and Lost Origin in some of these Scarlet Violet era sets. And everything's going to be pumping, and everyone's going to be saying the same stuff about the new era. They're going to be in the Mega Evolution era or whatever. They're going to be saying the same stuff. Oh, it's different now, Alex. Everything's changed. There's too many people doing this now. And it's just watching the same movie on repeat with a different title, dude.
Well, I mean, my thing is definitely that, human psychology is never going to change. Markets will just adapt and evolve. So I definitely agree with you on that. I just am someone that likes to continuously like do research using historical trends and events. And it just feels like it's so much more different. Like, we can still refer back to 2016 and kind of like the Pokemon Go boom and like what happened there. But really, since COVID, there's been such a different kind of market as a whole. And when it comes to the way in which Pokemon now handles reprints, it feels like it's ever evolving. And so I just like to kind of see and compare. And so for me, I would love to see in the next year or two, products go back into distribution where it's no longer just like, all right, what do we buy from distro? All right, they've got nothing. Fantastic. Guess we're just going to wait until the next set or product releases. I'd like to see more product on the market. I
love logging onto distro websites and like thinking I did something wrong. And I'm like, nope, all the settings are right. It just says, sorry, no.
Yeah, seriously.
There's just nothing.
So I'd like to get back just to a place where we can see that again. And then once we've had that, then we can at least have a year of comparing that, because that's one thing that they didn't have during 2016 and pre-COVID. So it's like That's the big difference, where we just don't have a ton of history on product just straight up not being at distro, period. So that's kind of the main thing I want to get to a little bit of a norm on, because I mean, realistically speaking, right, we've got obviously Destined Rivals coming up, we've got the black and white set. There's still a lot of speculation going on about, okay, is this the end of the Scarlet and Violet era, and then we move on to the next gen, kind of like what they did with like the Heart Gold Soul Silver remakes. And then we finally come back around to the next generation of, like, you know, gen, what would that be, 9 or 10? I think it'd be 10, right? Yeah, because Gen 6 is XY, 7 Sun and Moon, 8 yep, that'd be Gen 10, Gen 9 is Scarlet Violet. So yeah, we'll have to see, but it's, you know, who knows how long we are away from that. But
Do you want to go into any of the reprint stuff?
well, that was what I was about to let you speak, and then if you
Yeah.
didn't say anything, I was going to go into that.
Yeah, let's go ahead, talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so Surging Spark, I kind of talked about this a little bit on Twitter. If you guys want to see, I make posts on that. So Surging Spark reprints are coming. It's kind of a little bit like what we're seeing with it's kind of a little bit of what we're seeing kind of like Prismatic, where certain distros are bundling, certain distros are selling for higher. Who knows how it's going to, you know, play an effect on the market. I assume it's probably going to do the same thing Prismatic did. Like, these reprints so far are coming out like one by one, and Prismatic is like 120 a box, right? I think I had mentioned it earlier that we'd be lucky if it went below 100, and I still think that we're not going to see much more downward pressure. If it does, maybe 110, but I doubt it. And so I feel like Surging is going to be probably the same thing. Like, you might start to see it go down into the low 200s, but I'd be surprised if it goes down below that, because the size is not small. It's not big. It's like small, medium size. Some of my distros, I've had like 3 or 4 of them say like, yeah, I can get you like 2 to 4 cases. And then one of my other distros is like, I can get you 12 to 15 cases. So they're able to offer me a little bit more. I'm just waiting for their product to come in before we start to see this hit the market. So this should, in theory, start to like hit the market over the next couple of weeks or so. But yeah, it's tough, you know. And also as well, just to kind of keep people up to date, the Stellar, it looks like that's not actually going to happen. Kind of like what we saw last time, where there was some product that was, we thought, going to get printed, and then they changed shifts on handling that. So Stellar looks like it's not coming. Temporal, as far as I'm aware, because I've had multiple different sources confirm that, should be coming. We're still waiting to hear a little bit more information on what that specific product is going to look like. But I don't know. It's a whole lot of the same at this point. And as time continues to go on, it definitely continues to beg the question of like, okay, is Pokemon truly able to print enough, because this is not a lot, or maybe they've been holding off? Or, I mean, there's so much speculation. And then the news that they're getting, you know, another, you know, facility to print more, it maybe starts to make you feel like they definitely aren't going to be able to, you know, do enough.
Yeah, and let me break that down for everybody. Like, when Eli tells you these numbers, Eli's like up here. He's like one of the top, right? So what that means for regular stores is they probably are going to have even worse negotiated rates, negotiated bundles, negotiated price points than Eli's getting. They're going to get far less. Like, maybe they're going to get some boxes. Maybe they're going to get a couple cases. That's it. And so, I mean, even just people I've talked to are planning on starting to stock up on this round. Like, they're planning on starting to build their positions on Surging. Some people that like have distribution are just not going to be selling whatever little bit they get. They're going to be putting on their shelf and start to build positions. So it's like, in my personal opinion, not trying to create FOMO, I don't think a lot of this is going to see the market. And that's why, like, I don't think the market's going to change a lot, because the very little bit that gets kind of dispersed out to everybody, a lot of people are just going to hold it because, you know, you don't know how much more you're going to get in the future, and you want to have some position, and, you know, it's market price is probably isn't going to change too much because the product's already being sold more than what it used to be, and it's being bundled. And so, yeah, just be careful with, I don't like to like talk down anybody. There's just a lot of like us versus them right now. Just be careful with like the whole like MSRP gang crowd, and like the whole like, you know, reprints are like Armageddon on the hobby. Don't fall into this camp that you hear reprints and you think you're going to be able to get these boxes for like $100. Like, it's not going to happen. I promise you.
No, 100%. Yeah, isn't it? I mean, we've been saying this forever. It's an interesting market that we're in. It feels like the safest play is if you can start to see some individuals on the secondary market sell product for a little cheaper, get into the position. That's completely, fair. Like I think I just saw someone mention that there were some people that were selling like prismatic ETBs for 100. Like if you're looking at it long term, that's not the worst position to get in. But ultimately, Scarlet Violet, it just feels like with the prices not dropping as much as we like, it's just like, I don't know. I'd much rather just be putting my money in the Sword and Shield era long term and then wait until a lot of these Scarlet and Violet sets are officially confirmed out of print, and then we can start talking about it. Because like seriously, if you think about it, in the next, what will it be? Basically 11 months from now, roughly, when the like first couple of Scarlet and Violet sets go out of rotation. I mean, who knows what Paldea and all these other sets are going to be by then, but I mean, it just feels so strong of an investment at that point, to be able to kind of pick up.
I mean, speaking from a streaming perspective, packs are even getting scarce. Like,
Yeah.
it's to the point now where I've actually been picking up some sealed booster boxes again of Scarlet Violet Air product because now packs have completely caught up to the box price where I'm literally able to get boxes at like the same cost I could get loose packs at. And every time that's ever happened, the boxes move again because usually there's always some sort of disparity between sealed boxes and loose packs. Right now, we're to the point where it's like, well, I can basically get boxes at the same price as loose packs. Eventually, that means, well, either the loose packs are going to drop, which is unlikely if without more product, or the boxes are going to rise again. So it's just like, in my opinion, other than reprints coming, I wouldn't be surprised to see another 10%, 15% leg up on some of these Scarlet Violet boxes, at least in the short term, just because the packs are getting harder to find. I mean, I'm putting out posts and I'm not getting a lot of responses. And so I'm just ended up just buying boxes and cases from people to open them up for streams. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. It's funny. I was updating my prices for the store like yesterday, and I was just looking and I was like, man, these pack prices are like, I think I saw one pack that was going for $6, but so many of these Scarlet and Violet and Sword and Shield packs are going anywhere between $7 to like $12 at this point. Like,
Yeah.
crazy to see like how loose is really on the move. And even products where it's so funny because I remember when we had the Lost Origin Silver Tempest reprint, as like a part of that bundle, you had to pick up Build and Battle Stadiums, and it was like, Silver Tempest Build and Battle Stadiums, and people at the time were like, oh, it is what it is to, get the product. Maybe I break it down and sell off the loose packs because I just want the booster boxes, right? Silver Tempest Build and Battle Stadiums, for one singular one, we were buying them from the low 30s back then. They're going for over $100 just for a stadium. Like, no one cared about. Everyone hated stadiums. So it just really goes to show you like how the strength of packs have really just kind of caused a lot of items to move.
And speaking of not having any past data, we don't have any like of this new rip and ship like culture data. Like loose pack products, that was not a thing back during the 2021 boom. You know what I mean? Like we didn't have this demand for loose packs and all these other ancillary items that had packs in them. So it's like that's a huge change that we don't really have data on.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'll always want more time, but that's another factor where I'm like, it'll be interesting to see once this market cycle kind of cools down, because it will. Everything doesn't go up always.
Speaking of that, do you have any kind of like any guess on what you think Destin Rivals is going to be at? Like, I would say like 2 to 4 weeks after release. Like, what do you think it's going to stabilize at?
Well, I mean, here's the thing. It's continuing to go lower, right? So we're seeing it currently sell for 266.
Yeah, I think between eBay and TCG, it's somewhere between like 255 to 265.
And we kind of saw this with Journey too, where like Journey, and we talked about this, right? Where Journey had a little bit of a run up, and then a couple weeks after the release, it started to kind of get weaker and weaker, and now it's continued to kind of, have that trend. I mean, just looking at a chart of it over the past 3 months, right? Like back in March, the week before release, it was selling for 280. and now we're looking at it and it's selling for just $200 flat. So, and it's kind of sideways around there. So I think with Destined, if we don't see a run up in the next 2 weeks, if we see a run up in the next 2 weeks, then obviously all bets are off. It could be into the low threes. And then by release, it could go back to where it is now currently. But if we don't see that, this might sound crazy for a lot of people to think. I think this box could be in the round 220, 240 range. I think that's possible.
Why does that sound crazy?
Probably because most people are like, that's too close to Journey. But I think Journey could dip from there. Or maybe Journey just, is where it is and it sticks around. It's just a matter of which one happens,
I think 220, 240 is that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like a lot of people that I've talked
Jimbo
to
Slice, that's what I was thinking, 220, 240. I think 220, 240 is a really reasonable take.
I don't know. I think a lot of people are looking at it, comparing it to Journey, saying like this set is so much stronger than Journey. It has to be significantly higher than that.
Well, it's definitely stronger than Journey.
Yeah, so it's like, do we think that it's going to be $20 to $40 stronger than Journey 4 weeks after release where it's currently sitting? Or do we think Journey might have some more downward pressure and it could end up starting to kind of trickle in its price because, you start to see a little bit of cracks of demand for the Scarlet Violet.
Here's my only rebuttal to that is every Scarlet Violet box is $200.
Is SV base 200 now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
and so it's like, I mean, say what you want about Journey. I mean, I don't think it's the absolute bar none weakest set in the era. And for it to be the cheapest set in the era, that would kind of mean it'd be the weakest.
No, I disagree. Well, you got to look at it in this way, right? It's just one of the newer sets. It's one of the sets that Pokemon specifically came out and said, Prismatic and after, we're going to focus on hyper printing these sets to keep up with demand. And so I guess what I mean by that is this is a set that you've seen weakness because it's retraced where most of these other sets have continued to climb, which they've done so because they've been obviously getting more scarce as we haven't seen more supply for it come out on the market. Obviously, we'll see with Surging and potentially Temporal, depending upon what product it is, they're going to reprint of that. But ultimately, if this is one of those sets where they're going to, follow through on their word, we could all of a sudden see a Journey reprint come out of nowhere. And then all of a sudden the boxes get to MSRP and then it causes a trickling effect.
Oh, if we get a reprint, absolutely.
Yeah, and that's my point. Because like they literally made in an official statement that Prismatic Forward is going to be one of their main focuses. So the fact that we're getting
which it should be. So we actually said that's how it should be, remember?
Yeah. I agree. I think it should be. So it's where the demand is, right? Like with the newest, it's like kind of what we talk about. Second half is the term I use, but it's the just new art style designs. Like once you start getting past the crowns, people start to like the sets. And obviously our second half designs is the bringing back the trainer character cards. That's a huge factoring that, has caused a lot of demand. Prismatic obviously being a part of that, even though it doesn't have the trainer cards, it has the Master Balls and the Demigod and God packs. Okay, I want to say this, dude. Sorry, this is kind of off topic, but on topic. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's our shop in particular or what, but I don't think the pull rates for Prismatic are, at least in our shop, that bad. The
batching is crazy.
Dude, we this week had 2 people open Demigod packs again in the shop, and one of them once again pulled the Umbreon. So we've probably pulled at least 5 of those in the shop in the past 2 months, and like that's probably our 6th or 7th Demigod pack pulled in the past 2 months. And like Demigod packs are supposed to be so like rare, but I feel like we just pull them so often.
Yeah, just wait till you get like a bad batch and you get like nothing. I've had both. I've had batches where people order 100 packs and I pull them like 2 or 3 Demigod packs. I've had other batches where we'll go through like 400 packs in a night and we pull like 2 SIRs. It's wildly different.
That I can definitely see. It's interesting. Yeah, who knows what's going to end up happening with that. But anyway, that was kind of a side note.
That is crazy though.
We had a daughter and her father come into the shop and like they were opening packs and they got a pouch. And on their like last pack, I think it was, they literally got a Demigod pack and one of them was the Jolteon and she was like losing her mind. It was super cool experience. But anyway, that's besides the point. Yeah, no, I think I think Pokemon, I mean, we've already gotten news about them wanting to get another manufacturing location. We already know that, you know, reprints are going to be coming for some of these newer sets because they've made statements about it, and we've got some reprints for some older stuff. So I think, and two, you know, we don't really know what's going to happen after the black and white set, like what they're going to push and how the demand is going to be once we get into the next generation. So I'm still giving it about speculatively a year. We'll have to see, obviously, how that time frame is going to change, but you got to assume within the next year you should start to see some sort of normalization of the market in the Scarlet and Violet era. Sword and Shield era, once again, said it many times before, it's out of print, it's out of rotation. It's going to keep going up over the long term. We saw this with Sun and Moon. That's not going to change. Don't anticipate it to change unless there's some macroeconomic thing that happens in traditional markets, like the overall US economy. Good luck.
Even then.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I don't want it to happen, but we haven't really seen what Pokemon does at its current scale during
Like I said, it just
during a macroeconomic bear market, which I would like to not have to experience. So
dude, it's just like, I don't know. It's like talking to people who, you know, because I used to be in like, you know, like day trading groups and things like that. It's like talking to a bunch of like day traders that like, you know, they're gonna be real quick to tell you some like play they made. Oh, I caught this, I caught it near the bottom here, I made this gain, or you know, it's like they're never gonna tell you their losses. And also it's just like you never hear long-term investors that build wealth talk about like, oh man, I caught this like deal here. I got it for $15 less or whatever. It's just like, I just think a lot of this is a little bit irrelevant and meaningless. And I think we're going to be looking back at these discussions in about 1.5 to 2 years when most all these sets are out of print. And we're just going to kind of be laughing. We're going to be laughing at all this nonsense because reprints are going to come and go. Some are going to affect the prices a little. Some will affect a little more. But like I said, 1 to 2 years, be out of print on a lot of these, 3 to 4 years. All of them are going to be probably mimicking a lot of what Sword and Shield did, if not better. And everyone's like, you know, and by that time, a lot of the people that are in the hobby now that are like the loudest voices, they're going to be out of the hobby because a lot of those people will be gone in 6 to 24 months. And it'll be like a whole new group of people in here that all haven't seen it before. And they're all going to think it's all new. And they're going to buy into all the nonsense and all the fear and all the hysteria. And I think it's just why the markets are always going to repeat again and again is because you have the same behaviors repeat again and again.
Yeah. Human psychology is never going to change. And so human behavior will continue to repeat regardless. It's just history.
If you're like you sitting there staring at something and like you sat there for like a year and you watched something happen like 10 times and then like you had 5 people all come around, you'd be like, it's not going to happen again. I know it's not because this, and this is not going to happen. You're just like, all right. And then it happens again. And they're all just like, well, it shouldn't happen. Something's wrong with it. It shouldn't be that way. You're like, all right. And then, you know, like things will, a repro come. I told you it would happen. How do you feel now? And you're just like, all right. And then, you know, in 2 years, and all those people are there and you're sitting there still stacking cash and you're sitting there still like, all right.
I mean, it's like the saying goes, history is doomed to repeat itself if people forget the past. And
I like it.
Everyone always forgets the past.
You got lucky. I like it. Yeah, we just got lucky.
There's definitely always luck involved. That's for sure. Let's do something a little different. Let's get into questions a little bit earlier than we usually do. I want to kind of do more questions. I don't know if you're cool with that.
Always, man.
All right.
I love interacting with the peeps.
And then just so that people know, if you have a question, it really helps if before you ask the question in bold, you go, or in all caps, you go question and then follow it up with your question. That way, as I go through the comments, it makes it so much easier for me to find questions that I can go through and answer for people. And then, of course, we've got almost 400. We're sitting pretty right now. We've got a good amount of people here. Make sure to leave a like, comment down below, subscribe. Really helps the channel. Check out Alex and his content. Links down in the description below for that. And then, like I said, if we ever have any spots open for the wholesale, we'll make sure to open that up. You know, it's funny, not to get too off topic here with like my wholesale program. It's one of those things where I'm like, okay, if a spot or two leaves, obviously as a business owner, I'm like, I would love to add the person in. And we've already come out and like made multiple announcements. We've got it listed on our website, but it's brutal right now, dude. Like, I'm like, okay, should I really like, I know we have like a 6-month rule and it makes sense to be in the program for 6 months because the value you get. if you were able to stick around and get destined, or you're going to get allocations for like the, black and white era, and who knows what's going to happen. But it's just like one of those things where I don't know. It's tough right now. You want to see more product available at distro. It's kind of disappointing to see that there's just, still so much scarcity. But yeah. All right. Question number 1. What new highs and what will move in the Mayhem sale on TCG Player? Ooh, that's a great question. So you know what he's referencing?
Yeah, the 10%.
Abraham
We
Sanchez.
get like 13 if you remember.
Yeah, this is May 16th, which that's my brother's birthday. Shout out to my brother. Yeah, that's crazy. That's a great point. So we saw this with Lost Origin the first go around. It's kind of ironic how like history is just so similar a lot of times. We literally had a run up of LO, and then LO went up to 440-ish, 450. And then it did this. So it ran up to 400, and then the Mayhem sale happened, or another version of it. It ran up another like 10+%. And then it went back down to 380 after the sale ended, and then kind of found its way around, $400. So I think what you could probably see is, if we're talking like LO, for example, you could see probably LO run up to like 700-ish. And then from there, maybe go back into like the mid 6s, I think is very possible. If we just historically are going to follow the exact same percentages of what happened the first time around.
Yeah, no, I agree. And we're definitely going to see some massive moves. Like I said, I think just the fact of like the packs getting closer to the prices of the box in Scarlet Violet, I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of those boxes take like a 10% jump. Now, like, here's the thing, like some of these price points may be like short-lived, because sometimes we do see sort of like a trail back after the sale. But a lot of times, like some of them hold, and also usually they hold at a higher value than they were before the sale. So like example, like if a box is like $200 and it goes to like $240 with the sale, it may only come back down to like $215, $220. It may never come back to $200. So it's like, just understand. I mean, and another thing also, if you're looking to sell anything, if you need to sell or you're looking to get out of some things, great time to throw listings up. Like, go up the list a little bit. If there's like, 10 sellers ahead of you, guess what? Maybe throw it up there at some crazy price. It may sell on the sale. Like it could be a time to really get some big prices on your items during a sale like this.
Well, I think the most fascinating part that we're going to follow more than anything is the Mayhem sale is going to happen, right? We realistically have only about, I want to say, let me see if I can count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. We've got 14 boxes that need to sell on LO. I know more people are going to list when the Mayhem sale happens, but we don't know what the demand's going to be. But if 14 boxes just currently got bought on LO, the box goes to 800 a box, right? 790. No, it goes to 700 a box.
Yeah, I was counting Evolving Skies. It was like, I think it was 16 boxes to hit 2,500.
Yeah, so it's like, dude, stuff like that. We're like, crap, that's so insane. Like how, but to be fair, like it's not like a ton of LO sales happen every single day. Like it's 4 a day, but and there's
there'll be a lot that day.
Every day. Yeah. But Mayhem's going to be huge. And another thing too, I want to also make an emphasis. The first time LO happened and it had its run up, as the like price point continues to climb, you're going to obviously see much like more volatility, because one of two things is happening. One, it prices people out, but then two, it also makes it to where there's more scarcity of the general item itself. So you could potentially see bigger moves even on lower volume. So it'll be fascinating.
The other reason too is a lot of people have already been kind of washed out. Like a lot of people with like weaker hands, the people that like when they buy something, they say they're going to hold 3 to 5 years, but then, the boxes move up a little bit and a lot of people end up selling. By the time boxes get to the high hundreds into the thousands, a lot of those people have already been washed out. And a lot of the people who own the items at that point are true long-term holders. They have capital to lock up. They have a long-term investment mindset, which is why you see the scarcity really pick up. And the people who can afford those higher end boxes, the money a lot of times isn't going to affect their day-to-day life. If they want it, they're going to buy it. And they don't care if it's 1,000 or 1,200 or 1,400. If that's the market price and it's scarce and that they want it, they're going to buy it. So that's another reason why you see those prices start to move a lot different. There's a lot less sellers and a lot more buyers a lot of times, especially in markets like these at those prices.
Yeah, I think I started off with around what, 17, 18 cases, I think, of LO. How much is that boxes? So I started with more than that. I started with around 100 and like 120-ish, maybe 115-ish LO boxes. I'm down to 100 right now, according to our inventory. So,
Man, you really dumped them.
yeah, I sold like 2 cases, maybe 3-ish. I don't know, dude. It was one of these things where I'm not even kidding you. Because like, we're wanting to get a home, right? My wife and I, will be our our anniversary will be in September. We'll have been married for 2 years. And we've been trying to obviously afford a home for the past like 4 or 5 years. And it's been like one of these things where the business, I'm very blessed to say like it's continued to do well. And I've just continued to reinvest back in it. But it's like, it always feels like it's never the right time to like get a home, and prices especially going up so much higher every single day. It feels like with housing, who knows if it feels like it might change because inventory looks like it's going up, but I digress here. And so when it comes to the point I'm making with this LO, it felt like it was one of those things where, all right, well, if I really want to make this happen on like getting a home, I need to sell like some of my inventory off to have money for a down payment, because I just don't have the money for anything unless I liquidate some of my positions. And Ella was the one I always stared at. And I always was like, all right, I'm going to sell it. This is it. I'm going to do it. And then like before I did that, 2 weeks later, the price would just all of a sudden just skyrocket. And then I was like, okay, well, Ella just went to 4. Okay, maybe now's a good time to cash out, or maybe I sit on it and it goes even higher, right? And then I waited. And then I was like, should I do it? And like every single time it feels like another leg up happens. And so I've come to the point now where I'm like, you know what? Like Ella's been one of my best investments. Why like try and sell the golden goose that's kind of like making you the money? Just sell the items that sure you're not going to max your capital on, but the lower liquidity stuff, or not lower liquidity, but like hard to move product, lower margin items, like just get rid of that and like just kind of go from there. Cause not to talk about Magic too much, but like Aether Drift, man, I'm still sitting on so much Aether Drift, and it sucks to not be able to like get a ton of like capital off of that in terms of like, making the same margin I would. But I just don't see the point of, at this point, me wanting to sell my LO as I see it just continue to climb over time.
I mean, I think the same way you average in positions, just average out of them like you're doing right now. A couple cases at a time at each new price point, and just average out of it over time.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably what I'll do. I'm just going to slowly sell it in the shop, and, time goes on, like you said. Like, we averaged out of 2 cases. We'll probably do that over the next 6 months and so on. So,
yeah.
No, I'm not in a rush in that regard.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the next question. That was a long one. Singles seem to still be dropping despite the seal rally. Why do you guys think singles will go? When do you think singles will go on another run?
Well, I want to preface this question by saying, with Sword and Shield, and especially anything further beyond, sealed and singles have separated at this point, right? It's old enough where the singles and sealed market are completely separate. So don't be looking at box prices rising and think, oh, well, singles have to be next. It's not always the case. Now, with that being said, I do still think there will be more rebounds with the alt arts. I think those have been.
Which alt arts? Can you point to some for me?
Well, I mean, I know Umbreon was a $2,800 to $3,000 PSA 10, and now it's down to like 2,000. So that's
well.
like
What about the raws
drop.
though? What about the raws?
You see, I don't mess around too much in the raw market, so I couldn't give you too much data. I really focus on PSA 10 market. But yeah, a lot of the PSA 10s of a lot of these cards have taken some pretty massive, I would say 20 to 30-ish plus percent drops. And yeah, I mean, I truly believe alt art's going to continuously go on runs into the future, just like some of the other top hits and sets have in XY, Sun, and Moon ever since their beginning. And so, no, not every card is going to recover, but I do think the top hits, alt arts, some of the top trainer galleries, especially the most popular Pokemon, most popular cards, they will continuously go on more runs. And I think anytime anything drops that you believe in for an investment, 20 to 30 plus percent, it's always a good time to start building a position in them. So that's my take.
How heavy, like percentage wise, would you say you are in singles compared to sealed?
0.
In singles?
Like 1%.
Yeah.
I go on, like, when I see like plays open up that I'm confident in, I'll pick up a large amount, and like then it'll be like, these days my positions are so high in sealed, but like at some points I've been up to like 10% plus positions in singles, but then I'll always sell them like a short-term moves, whether it be like a few months or maybe a year or a year and a half. But like I'm just not a big singles investor. I'm a sealed investor. So I stick with sealed.
Yeah, it's hard. We got our PSA return back recently since the changes, and it was solid. Like we actually got some like good grades surprisingly, and
Nice.
one of them we sent in was the Moonbryon, and it got a 10, and I was just like, dude, like
You gonna hold it?
with the recent prices, should I hold on it as an investment? And I was just like, dude, do I really like care to sit on sealed in the or singles in the same way? I don't know. It's hard.
Here's the thing. If you're right on singles, you're probably going to outproduce the sealed gains. The problem is it's so hard to be right on singles where it's so easy to be right on sealed.
Yeah. That's so true. That's such a good point. All right, let's go next question. Should I sell some of my Sword and Shield position and get into some early SV 1 through 6?
I don't know, man.
I'm not selling anything Sword and Shield. I don't see why not. Like, I don't know. Sword and Shield right now feels so strong. Like, yes, you can maybe start to say, like, yeah, let's start getting into Scarlet and Violet now because we want to, beat people to the punchline when, how they evolved inevitably goes to $400-500. But it's like, that's fair and all. But right now, with the run-ups of what's going on in Sword and Shield, it's so hard for me to justify like doing that because
Eli, the
kind of like what we
problem
were
is
saying.
people think because things go up, they must come down, and it doesn't always work that way.
Well, but it's the point you made earlier, like when talking about the example with the S&P, like if you took out those 15 days, like with the realized gains, I kind of look at it with the Sword and Shield. It's like, I'm not moving positions because Sword and Shield isn't a position that is bad that is going to be outperformed by Scarlet and Violet. Like it's a position that's fantastic. It's making a lot of moves right now and it will continue to make a lot of moves. I mean like and maybe it's off by like a nominal percentage point, but just kind of look at Team Up and what Team Up was doing right now, right? Like Team Up, we were like, oh, Team Up booster boxes, once they hit like, $1,200 and then a $2,000, we were like, oh yeah, like this is it. And what are they at now? Like $4,000+ a booster.
Yeah, I think it's like 6 or 7.
Yeah, so it's one of these things where that's evolving. Evolving is going to do that next. Evolving went from 4 to 8 to 12 plus. Like, so I just don't see the point of doing that. I'd much rather you just take expended capital that you have or like extra capital that you have and just go buy some Paldea Evolved and look at it long term. But I'm not selling my Sword and Shield at this point unless I'm literally like trying to like deleverage myself from my position or I really see a huge opportunity in the market because of some form of reprint that happens and prices actually make a bigger correction than what we're seeing currently.
Yeah, I mean, I can just tell you guys what I'm doing. I can't tell you what to do, Matt. But I mean, I sold.
This is what
Sword
I'm
and
doing
Shield.
as well. I'm doing that as well. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I sold some Sword and Shield within the past few months because I wanted to pay my house off. It was like a goal of mine, and so that's the only reason I sold. Now I'm not selling anymore. But like Eli said, a lot of my money is going to continue to go into the early Scarlet Violet sets as an investment, especially like 151 things like that. But so I'm not buying more Sword and Shield these prices, but I'm also not selling any either. So like that gives you my idea of where I think things are headed.
1,000%.
Here's the thing. They can run up and then they may go stagnant, but it's unlikely they're gonna drop a whole lot. I think people get in their minds like, oh well, it just ran up. It's gonna come back down. I better get out. It's just like it might just not come back down. It might just go stagnant, maybe drop 5% and then like run again in another 6 months. You don't know.
No, the run up to $400 for evolving was a question I had asked so many times. And like, I told people, I was like, it could go stagnant for a while. This might be a good point to like get rid of it, but I wouldn't get rid of all of it because you just don't really know. Like, we're in uncharted territory. And that's kind of my answer with Sword and Shield and how I'm playing it, right? Like, Sword and Shield, and with the way in which the market is, like, I'm never going to fully leave the position unless you've got certain individual circumstances that you've got going on in your life. Like Alex just mentioned, right? We've got certain personal goals for ourselves and we're wanting to reach those. I mean, this is the whole point of our investing, right? Is that we have certain goals that we want to achieve, and investing is going to help them. So there's no point in getting greedy. Like the amount of times I've had conversations with myself where I'm like, okay, well, maybe I should just rent for like another like 3 to 5 years, because, having a mortgage on a home is so much more expensive than renting with the rental market the way it is now. But then you're like, okay, well, wasn't the whole purpose of all these investments so that like I could afford a down payment on a home? Because it feels like that's like such a huge barrier now more than ever
Is
within
that
like
real?
homeownership.
That thing you just said about rent and mortgage where you're at?
Oh my God, dude. So renting right now, so the home we're in currently is $2,275 a month. It is a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath, a 2-car garage, and then an office. So like you can think the office is like another bedroom, but it's an office.
What's the home valued at?
It's 1,800 square feet. So the value of the home right now is valued about $500,000.
Oh,
Um,
that'd be way more than 2275 then.
oh yeah, I already did the math. If you were to put 20% down, you're pretty much right around like $3,000. It's just because
How are they able to charge so little for rent?
the rental market is extremely competitive, and they also have to compete with a lot of the apartments that are being built out in the Phoenix
So you
area.
couldn't even like buy a house out there for a rental property there.
No, you're losing money. You're losing. So here's the thing. Because of COVID, there was a lot of states that were leaving. A lot of people were leaving states like California, Oregon, Washington, like these states that were much more like hardcore when it came to how they regulated COVID. And they were leaving to these other states, which were much more lenient on COVID rules. Arizona, Texas, Florida. These were the 3 that had the highest rate of migration. And because of that, you saw a lot of money get poured into Arizona, and so many people were getting into like Airbnb rentals. And so because of that, there was such a huge like spike of just homes being purchased for that reason. And then you started to see a lot of people, as that continued to get more and more popular, switch to traditional rentals because prices started to no longer make sense for you to kind of run this Airbnb and or rental market. And so you've had a lot of people like lose out on their butt because the rental market just became so oversaturated on people trying to come in when the market was undervalued.
Yeah.
So, and you're seeing that more than ever currently,
That's
where
definitely a little, I would say that market's a little out of whack. Like
it is. Well, they're saying right now, because it's funny. I was talking to a guy who runs a really successful like real estate business in the local area, and I was talking to him about it, and he's like, "We're in uncharted territory. Like we haven't seen this much inventory in the market since '08 in the Phoenix area, and like we don't know what's going to happen. Like in theory, there should be down like pressure to the downside. '08 doesn't like make sense to repeat itself, but like it's just really weird to see how much supply there is currently. So it's definitely one of those things where right now you're seeing so many people with interest rates at their current prices be like, I can't afford that. 7% interest rates, like
right.
that's not it. And so renting is just so much more affordable. And so because of that, there's like this influx of inventory, but the demand for homes is still low. So you're going to have to find either rates coming down or prices coming down for there to kind of be some form of a balance in the market to occur. So, because like, dude, there's so many people several years that got rates at like 7% and listened to the advice of like, marry the home, date the rate, you can always refinance, and rates are still at 7%, and they're now having to sell because they couldn't afford the home. So
Yeah.
it's like a wild time that we're in, especially if you like are in the greater Phoenix area, kind of watching it all. So being able to like afford a home, like it's like something I'm hopefully going to be able to do here in the next couple of months. Like that's the goal, but it's been a journey, man. It's been so difficult just to have the ability to like have a down payment. Like that's the greatest barrier, let alone be able to
Why
carry a
don't you
three to
just
four
build an
thousand dollar
apartment
mortgage.
above the shop?
The shop I'm renting. Yeah. Yeah, right. I'll talk to my landlord, see what they think. Yeah, but I don't know. It's weird to see. But that's, going back to it, that's obviously a goal of mine. This is what we work for, guys. We work for the goals. We shouldn't lose sight of why we're doing this to begin with and start to say it's like it's like playing the game of like at the end of it all, if you're just sitting on a bunch of money and nothing to show for it, it's like, who cares? Like do something.
I want to see that digital number on the screen go up in my account, dude. Come on.
Yeah, right. That digital number, dude.
And now we got the collector apps, so now we can see our digital collection value go up. That's what it's all about, Eli. It's about the number getting bigger.
Dude, have you seen at 7% the amortization rate when running calculators?
I don't want to see it.
Dude, you don't want to see it? So
Tell me.
we'll take Phoenix area right now. Housing prices have come down, so they're at right around 480,000. So if you're on a 30-year with a 7%, which is right now traditional, your amortization rate, total interest. Remember, this home is valued at 480,000. This is the interest you're paying over a 30-year loan. $669,000.
Yeah, buddy.
Total of 360 monthly payments over a 30-year loan at a 7% rate. You're in total paying $1.149 million into a $480,000 home.
You don't want to get me started on that, dude. Like, we'll go down a deep rabbit hole. We'll go down on how I disagree with all like the finance gurus about like, you know, buying it and then not paying it off and like putting your money elsewhere. It's just like, oh, it's so bad.
Dude, it's it's crazy. I feel like there's so many things people just don't really take into consideration when it comes to it. It's funny because I was talking to someone about this recently. It was this younger kid who just got out of college, and like, you know, he's been very blessed to have grandparents that gave him money for a down payment on a home. And he's like, yeah,
Nice.
like, you know, they always say like buying is better than renting. And I was just like, that's not always true. And he's like, well, you know, I'm going to get a place that's, you know, worth 300,000. And I just pull out the amortization calculator. I was like, let's do some math together. Let's see how much you're going to pay in interest.
Well, Eli, here's the thing.
And he was like blown away because he didn't realize it because he'd never crunched the numbers. Like,
here's the thing. Like back when there was 2 and 3%, you could definitely make that argument, dude. It's 7%.
Yeah, I 100% agree.
You're getting like, there's not a lot of very ultra safe investments that you can guarantee you're going to make 7% every year. Like,
yeah,
7%'s up there, man.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things where it's either been one of two things historically, right? Like if you look at 70s and 80s, you had really high interest rates, but the household income was vastly greater than what it is when comparing wage strength to like home prices, right? Like back then, I mean, my aunt and uncle, right? You know, they were probably making like $20,000 household income between the two of them, but their home was like $60K, right?
Yeah.
So it's like significantly better than if you have an average household income in America currently, which is about 48,000 compared to a home that's now $500,000, right? Like that's insane. Like how do you afford that? And you know, you could pay off the home so much faster. And so even though rates were significantly higher back then, you know, 15+%, depending upon which era we're looking at, you're able to pay off your home so much quicker if you wanted to.
Yeah.
It's like not that bad. And then depending upon which state you're in, there's also Prop 13 laws in like California, for example, where you get grandfathered rates on property tax. So like one of my aunts and uncles, they're paying $100 a month on property tax. Whereas if you got that same home now, you're paying $1,200 to $1,500 a month in property tax.
That's the craziest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, so it's just wild to see like how things have changed. And obviously 5 years ago, it's the inverse where homes went up, but rates were so much lower that your just monthly mortgage was one of those things where I don't see myself selling the home because it's just something I have to sit in, because why would I ever give up 2.9%? Like you want to upgrade. Like I've got so many people that are like, this home, we've outgrown it. We want to have a bigger family, but we can't because we're not going to give up 2.9%, you know?
For sure.
So,
That's one of the biggest reasons right now. No one can move. No one can take on the new interest rate. You'd have to literally move down in house.
yeah. No, it's insane. But we'll move off that topic because obviously we've been going on for a while, but just fascinating stuff to witness right now in the macro of it all. What's a better long-term investment? 2 Surging Spark booster boxes or 2 Prismatic Evolution PC ETBs?
I'm gonna take the booster. I'm gonna take the booster box.
I already know my answer. It's the boosters. I knew. Yeah.
All right, but hey, this actually. Here's the thing, dude. I am either gonna be so right and like laughing, or I'm gonna be so wrong, and I love it. I love being right at the precipice of like 2 insanely different outcomes. I'm not the biggest believer in PCTBs like everyone else. And so if you change that question to say, if we can shop around the market and I can find some prismatic still around $100 in ETB, now that question becomes completely different. A regular prismatic ETB at $100 or surging sparks at like 240, whatever it's at, prismatic may beat it.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely in uncharted territory with, PC ETBs. I was a big fan of them from the get-go. I'm still a fan of them, but at the current trajectory of where they're going, it's really hard for me to say that I'm like a firm believer.
To be fair, we were fans of them when they were being released at PC.
That's the point I'm making.
Yeah,
that's the point I'm making.
I've never once said I was a fan of them at $250.
Yeah,
I'm a fan at 60, 80, 100, 120 even. I'm not really a fan at $250, $400.
Yeah, things have changed with that. So I think surging is safer, especially because now, like with the trend currently, it's booster boxes are starting to prove themselves to be really good long term compared to ETBs. Also, let's get some super chats in here. Want to give a shout out to Dead Lion. Thank you so much for the $5. Thank you both. Been listening for the past for over a year and bought most of the Sword and Shield cases off PC last year. After the recent boon, I'm almost at 6-figure value. Let's go, dude. Congratulations.
Dude, I've been getting so many like emails, messages. I even got like one of the deals I made with somebody. They sent like a printed out note like thanking me like for like content. Dude, there's so many people that have been watching like the channel, probably us now for a year, 2 years, 3 years now. And they've had so much tremendous success. And it's like it's that makes you feel so good that like you've allowed other people to like, improve their financial situation and do so well in the hobby based off like information we've had in the video. So man, well, I'm so happy for you, Dead Lion. Congrats, dude. You did it.
No, that's awesome. And I'm right on board with you. Like this is kind of what I do it for. Like this is one of the reasons why I started the wholesale program to begin with. And I started the YouTube channel to begin with. Cause I'm very like, how do I want to say this? Like this might sound weird, but like I do think about the importance of legacy to a certain extent, where I feel like so many people have this like idea of like, okay, I'm going to chase that next home, that next car. And I've never really cared about that. I feel like when you're dead, like who cares how many vehicles you owned? But like if you can make an impact in someone's life, whether it be providing them a job that can obviously offer great benefits and pay them a fair wage to raise a family, or you can help people in their own, general life when it comes to their investing or starting their own business. Like these are the things that I'm the most passionate about. And so it's one of those, like, I just really enjoy messages like this because this is what I literally like live for. Like this is I stopped posting content because it all of a sudden felt like I was posting content to post content because people wanted to hear my top 10 investments. But like, I didn't need to post like 3 to 5 days a week for people to see that. Like you can come onto my stream, you can get my thoughts. I'm going to tell you what I think is going on in the market. You're going to get informed in real time of everything I think. And from there, you're going to be able to take that information and make your own decision off of it. And so I'm very grateful to be able to still offer some of that to people on a weekly basis. So once again, shout out to Dead Lion on that. That's so awesome, dude.
And 2 other shout outs too. Abraham, Alex, and Eli put me in 50K in debt, but he's laughing in cardboard boxes. So that's good. And also Brickstar Studios, he's nearing 4 billion invested. So that's good too.
Oh, 4 billion.
Yeah.
Let's go, baby. There you go.
We had to shout them out. Good.
Dude, I had so many people memeing in the wholesale program yesterday in the regular chat because they were like talking about the price of Elo going up and they're like Eli right now. And it was just pictures of me like just, well, it wasn't me, but you know what I mean? Like just sitting in piles and piles of money. So I thought that was super funny.
And dude, like you said, it's not even the money. It's just like, I don't know, whenever like you believe in something, and you like you put your money where your mouth is and you preach it and like you take so much crap, like you take so much bull crap from everybody and then it pans out. It just feels good to like, kind of be like vindicated,
Alex is like, my motivations are proving the haters wrong.
Oh my God. It feels so good, dude. Cause you were with me. Like we took a lot of crap in the last couple of years.
It's true. I definitely agree. I don't know. It's weird. I'm on the same page with that for sure, but also the exact same time I'm like, dude, it's just, people always are yapping. People are professional yappers.
Yeah.
But all right, let's move into the next one. Brad Speckman, homeownership is crazy. Shout out to him for the $5. Gotta say that. Homeownership is crazy. Back in the day, people just lived in caves and called it a day. I know, dude. Should we start doing that now, Alex? What do you think?
It's cheaper.
Dude, could you imagine if I just had a cave full of Pokemon cards?
Dude, honestly, think about that. Climate controlled. Stays at one temperature all the time.
You know?
Probably good for storage of product. I mean, how much safer can you get from a freaking like rock? It's basically a rock safe. A stone safe.
See, these are the kind of things that you guys need to consider here, because as you continue to grow as a Pokemon investor, you're going to need the space. You don't know if your home's going to always be able to fit all of your inventory. So think about
I have a few caves.
Find a cave.
I have a couple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A wise man once told me, find a cave.
Yeah, I was getting safes and I finally said, screw this. I'm gonna purchase some caves.
Yeah.
And, you know, I feed the bats. I've become friendly with the bats, so they guard it for me. Like anytime anyone like tries to come in and get my product, the bats all swarm them. They run away.
It's on the come up for sure. Like
it's far superior. It's like a Ring doorbell. Put it that way.
I feel like it's one of those things now where everyone is like, oh, should I invest in crypto? Should I invest in like, you know, Pokemon, like highest rate of return? I'm telling you right now, guys, like caves are the next trendy thing that you kind of want to get in before it starts to become, because the minute my grandma comes to me and says, Eli, should I start investing in a cave? I know it's a bubble. So like right now, this is where it is the time before it starts to pop off.
Well, do you have any digital real estate?
You know, I just have like, so, you know, like crypto, like ETF, what are they called again? I always forget the name of them. Like the crypto picture stuff. What are the things?
Oh, the NFTs?
NFTs. I've got like NFTs of like images of caves, but that's about as deep as it gets.
So you don't own like any like land in like, you know, like the metaverse?
You know, I own a little bit of like the dark side of the moon. Does that count?
I mean, it's something. Like I own a star.
You own a star? What's it?
Yeah.
Did you get to name the star?
Yeah, I bought it from NASA. They were selling.
Really?
I don't know how they owned it, but like they got the money.
That checks out.
Yeah. I'm gonna keep it sealed too.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. It's good, dude. All right. Do you think the rate of appreciation for SV era will outpace Sword and Shield, mainly due to the rise of rip and ship culture?
I don't know, man. I think it's gonna be hard for some to catch Evolving Skies. Here's what I think. I think it's gonna be like every other era. I think the top Scarlet Violet sets are gonna outpace all of the middle or lower end Sword and Shield sets. I just don't think some of these Scarlet Violet sets, even as good as they are going to catch things like Evolving Skies, Fusion Strike, things like that. I mean, I don't know. There's definitely some I really believe in. Paldea, 151, Prismatic. You know, I think they're going to do extremely well. I think they're going to be like, no, it doesn't mean they won't outpace percentage gain. Like I could definitely see, you know, some of these sets outpacing some Sword and Shield sets percentage gain wise at this point. But as far as like price, like actually overlapping them in price, overtaking them, it's going to be rough. That's going to be rough.
Yeah, here's my thing. It's hard to call until the era is officially over. Because when it comes to comparing generations, it really is just going to come down to how many strong sets we have in one era compared to another. Because if you look at like XY, for example, XY obviously has been like doing better now, but for the longest time, it felt like Sun and Moon was just performing so much stronger from a like percentage game perspective for like the length and time frame in which these sets have been out. And so, you know, it's really, really difficult to say if you're going to start to see that happen until the Scarlet and Violet era just comes to an end. So that's kind of what I'm more than anything waiting for to happen. Then I can start to kind of call my shots on that. Because
put it this way, if someone asked me right now, do you want to buy a Fusion Strike box at $700 or whatever dollars, or do you want to buy 7 Prismatic Evolutions ETBs? I think there's a probably pretty good possibility you're going to double your money faster in Prismatic.
Yeah, I don't think that's a bad take. We got another. So Austin Bell didn't have a question for us, but he just gave us $2. Thank you so much, Austin. Shout out to you, brother.
Appreciate you, Austin.
We see you. Where is it? Where is it? I saw the question. I want to make sure I do this in order. All right. Elemental Hothead says, question. Now that Pokemon updated their standard rotation for the TCG game, does that give a 50-50 on certain sets to be reprinted? Thanks. Not really. I don't think it changes much. I mean, we kind of saw this with Evolving Skies and Fusion, all these other sets. Like, it was, I mean, Fusion was one of those sets that when it came out, it got one big massive like print or like quote unquote reprint shortly after. It was just another wave. And then after that, you know, it was several years of not getting any more of it. Evolving was the only one that got more supply, right? So I think it's entirely possible that we just don't see any more. Like, I don't see it's 50-50 here whatsoever on a lot of these older, you know, Scarlet and Violet sets. Pokemon have shown that they're willing to just leave sets in the dust without any sort of on the horizon.
I think, again, I think it's because it's a huge like view getter, and it's huge for like the drama channels, and it's huge for like the, I don't know, just people to get people riled up. I think there's three main questions you have to always mention when you talk about reprints, and no one ever does. They say reprint and think it like means something. There's three things. The reprint's just one of them. How large is the reprint, and what price is the reprint being sold at distro for? Those three things are much more important than just a reprint, because you could say, oh, Paldea is getting a reprint. Oh, each store is getting 2 cases and they have to buy it at $180 a box. And also, what items, like, is it booster boxes? Is it bundles? Is it printing more packs in a collection box like Blooming Waters? That didn't do a thing to 151 ETBs. You know, like, I just think there's more to it than just like, I get it. Reprint is like this, you know, it's just like this kind of like action word that gets people like all riled up and gets people thinking, but it's really not as important as people make it out to be.
Do you think Vivid and or Darkness boxes are going to hit 300 by end of year?
I don't know.
Where are they at right now?
Vivid and Darkness. I think there's just better places to put your money, guys.
What do you know what they're sitting at right now currently, though?
I'm gonna look right now. If I had to guess, probably in the low 200s. Vivid Voltage booster box is $205 with shipping. And Darkness Ablaze booster box is about, ooh, that's up to almost 250. That's like 248 with shipping.
Yeah, I think they'll hit 300 by end of 2025.
I'm going to say no.
You don't think Darkness is $50 away, dude? I'm
going to say Vivid Voltage doesn't make it.
I think that I think it will. What's Battle Styles at? That's another good question.
Less than Darkness.
Dude, Battle Styles, it's crazy.
Battle Styles is at $199. It's actually less than Vivid. I don't think Battle Styles or Vivid Voltage hit $300 this year.
I mean, we've got half of May basically, and then we've got, you know, another 6 months after that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Darkness for certain should hit it. It's only 50 away. I think Vivid should follow that. That's not that big of a jump.
I mean, I will say every prediction I make is always not enough. Like I said, Evolving Skies would hit 2K by the end of the year. It's already there. I said Paldea would hit 300 by the end of the year. It's like $20 away. So it's just like, you're probably right, man. It'll probably blow past it. Like everything in this hobby moves so much faster than I always think. It's crazy.
I'll put it this way. Anything's possible, but I'd be surprised if it didn't happen.
The more I think about it, it probably will. Everything moves so much faster than I ever think it will.
Yeah, 100%. All right, we'll take a couple more questions, then we'll get on out of here. Do you think Senemu is going to go on another run since Sword and Shield is going up?
I don't know, man. I think money moves back to Scarlet Violet after this.
I think there's not a correlation between the generations. They do their own things. The only time you saw that was within alt arts with tag teams. because people saw tag teams and they were like, we love alt art designs. What else has a lot of alt art designs? Sword and Shield era. But like in terms of boxes, there's not really necessarily something that I don't know. I don't know. It could, like Alex said, it could go back to Scarlet and Violet. There's no direction in which the market chooses. That's always.
I gotta take DJ Cage real quick. You said, do you think there'll be fights break out in stores over the new Final Fantasy drop? I mean, I actually am. I'm dressed as a black mage. I'm gonna cast spells.
I'm gonna cast spells.
I am. I'm gonna probably use fire. Fire Ega.
You know, could be successful.
Dude, I think that's what we're missing. I think we need more fights.
I know we haven't had fight drama in a bit inside of a Costco or anything. Kind of boring.
And I trained so many people for the Poke fights, and like they're not getting to use their skills they've learned, their techniques.
Do you guys handle high value sales any differently, like selling some Evolving Skies booster boxes or similar?
I'd say I'm more selective with like who I allow to buy it. Like if I get like a 0 feedback new account, try to buy it or something, I'll just cancel the sale and let them know like I'm not comfortable shipping it.
Yeah.
But I would say that's about it. I mean, you could, video yourself, packaging it, ensure the package, things like that. But other than like taking precautions.
Do you have signature?
Huh?
Do you have signature?
Yeah, I mean, I think anything over a certain dollar amount is now signature added automatically. But yeah, I mean, little stuff like that. Other than that, I don't think anything's different. Do you?
If it's a certain amount of money, I definitely add signature. I mean, I always include tracking on everything, but signature for sure. If I'm like in the wholesale program, I don't do signature whatsoever because there's no point. But if it's like you said, I'm dealing on like a third party website. Yeah. If it's enough money, I'll do that.
By the way, like somebody stole mine off my porch, so I never actually got it. I never signed for it, so I need another case of Destin.
All right, we'll do one more question. We'll do 2 questions actually. With Paldea Evolve hitting 2K per case, which set do you see being similar, doing similar things in months to come?
Surging Sparks. Guys, that's if you guys want to play right now, those are my 2 plays. I would, I think Prismatic. It's not. I don't think it's like a terrible like play. I think there could be a reprint, like no more reprints, and price may fall a little more. But like, I think 151 is starting to be a pretty good buy, and I think Surging Sparks into this reprint. I think it's going to be good time to pick it up when the market adjusts a little bit. I think that's a buy. So I'll say Surging Sparks.
I can get behind that.
But just give it a minute. Like when are we supposed to be getting the reprints, Eli? When do you get them in, you think?
I know with a couple of my distros, they said a week. Another one said they're still waiting to have it hit their warehouse, but it should be any day now. So
just pay attention, guys. Like in the next 1 to 4 weeks, try to find some deals. I think Surging is going to be a pickup.
All right, we got one superstar that just came in last second. Brickstar Studios. Shout out to him for the £5. Will prismatic ETBs reach $500 in the next 3 to 5 years? Will Paradox boxes hit 500 in the next 3 years?
Dude, if either of those happen, I'm gonna be a happy man.
Yeah, I don't see why not. I mean, Paradox.
You think those are both gonna happen?
I think Paradox for sure. Prismatic ETBs, that I don't know. I'm more confident.
I think Paradox for sure.
In 3 years?
God, it just sounds so crazy to me, dude.
It does, but guess what? You know what's also done that in the past 3 years? Dude, the Lost Origin reprint. Do you know when that happened? That happened in September of 2023. You know how
why are we not just leveraging every dime we can get to our names to buy this stuff?
Dude, like think about
150% gain in 3 years. Where can you find that?
So the reprint happened in September of 2023 for Lost Origin. That was a year and 8 months ago. And the boxes were selling for 120. So in a year and 8 months, not 3+ years, in a year and 8 months, it went to $600 from 120. So we're saying a set has to hit 500, so it has to hit $100 lower, and it gets an extra year and 2 months, and it's already at 200. That just seems so possible to me based on this current trajectory of the market. Like, it's not
I'll buy
LO.
10 more
I get that.
cases. All right.
It's not LO. I get that, but it's got 3 years starting from now, and it's already at 200, and we've seen other sets perform way better in a much shorter period of time. Like, dude, once it goes out of rotation, I don't see why most of these items aren't going to start pushing 300 plus.
What were distros blowing those out at? Is it 84?
87.
87 a box?
Dude, they were flash selling the crap out of Prismatic 87. Certain distros were selling for 87. Certain ones were selling them for like 93, but you also got like free items with it, like trainer toolkits and stuff. Like, they were flash selling these Paradox boxes, dude.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, Prismatic's the only one, but I mean, he did say 3 to 5 years, but I guess it's hard to say because, like, other than pre-Sword and Shield era ETBs, we don't really have history on anything in the Sword and Shield era getting remotely close to $500. You know? But to be fair, I would argue that the specialty sets in this current generation, as an overall, just kind of looking at it, feels stronger than the previous. I love Crown Zenith. It's one of my favorite sets. I think it's a top set. But if you compare it to like Shining Fates, Pokemon Go, Champions Path, like, those are some like hindsight garbage ones compared to 151, Prismatic Evolution, Paldea Evolved, and now this Reshiram, Zekrom, black and white set. Like, those are some banger specialty sets comparing it. I mean, I don't know. Is there a specialty set I'm missing that was better in the, I mean, I gotta go back and look. I mean, Celebrations, obviously, but even then, Celebrations, it's a specialty set they made because of like, it's the 25th anniversary, but as a set as a whole, it was really underwhelming. I don't know if you agree with me on that.
Yeah.
Like, it was fine. Like, okay, cool. Let's celebrate. Let's get these cards that we're just reprinting. But in reality, like, I don't know. Like, you opened a ETB or two and you felt like you got most of the cards you wanted and you just had to buy a couple.
Also, the classic collection was pretty weak. Like, they picked a lot of random cards to throw in there where it's like, you should have taken some of the best hits of each era at least. Like, I mean, it had Goldfire Umbreon, it's got Charizard, but like a lot of the other stuff was really just mid.
Yeah, no, I agree. It was okay. All right. And then just, this isn't a question, but it's just Littlefoot saying, have a great day. Thanks for the video. Been a lot.
You too, man.
Thanks, Littlefoot. We appreciate it. But yeah, we'll wrap it up there, folks. Anything you want to say before we head on out, Alex?
No, man. I mean, like, as far as like go back to the title and the thumbnail and everything, like, I think it's more risky than before because of price point to invest in these newer sets, but I also think it's less risky in terms of historical data and all of like the, success that, the hobby's had in terms of like, will it go up and be higher in the future? So it's just like, will the gains be the same? Are there possibilities of reprints you to be down at some point on your money at some point in the next year or two? Sure. But it's just like in the long term, I just find it hard to believe it's that risky of a buy still if you're looking at a true 3 to 5 year scenario. So that's all I got to say about it.
Yeah, it's kind of like what we said, or I said earlier. If you're looking at it short term, I'm definitely thinking Sun and Moon, or sorry, not Sun and Moon, Sword and Shield is a much better pickup right now because there's so much less speculation about reprint. But if you look at it long term, Scarlet and Violet is still a fine thing to pick up. So, but
cool.
All right. Make sure to leave a like, comment down below, subscribe. Really helps the channel, ladies and gentlemen. Check out Alex. All his links are down below. And then, of course, wholesale program. Keep up to date if you join our Discord and get all of the notifications whenever we drop a new video for the stream there as well. But hopefully you guys all have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday. We'll see you all next week. Peace.